I'm doing all right, man. How are you?
Good. I'm well.
Yeah,
I'm well. Looking comfy in your home office there.
I know, dude. It's incredible. You got to see this. This is nuts. When all you have is boxes,
Mm-hmm.
you make a desk.
Yeah.
When
Looks like it works.
you know that when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade analogy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I was going with.
It's working.
Yeah, man. Do you mind if before we start, we just take a couple breaths? I'm
You
sure
do whatever you need to do, brother.
sure you wouldn't mind about that at all. Okay.
Good. Good.
So, why did you want to talk?
Oh, I thought you wanted to talk.
Oh, well, I did.
That's why I want to talk.
Okay.
I suppose specifically, you said that your call with Dhammarato was useful, and that's definitely worth us speaking about.
Yeah, yeah, it was. It's funny because when we were talking, I was noticing my opinion about whether or not he was too rigid in his beliefs and in tradition, and it was very much more formal
Mm-hmm.
than any other interaction I've had.
Mm.
Very, very formal. He laid it out straight from the beginning what he expects from his students, and I started like haggling with him, and I was like, well, all right, well, by your logic, then I should probably tell you about my experience as being a student for the past 2 years, so that you can understand that I may be a right fit for you or not. And he was like, no, I don't need that. That's up to you right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, okay, got it. At one point he was like, just don't react. Don't react. Just listen. Just listen.
Mm.
I felt a lot of times very much it was like his way or the highway.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but it was an opportunity for me to let go in that moment and just be there with him. Um,
Yeah, you can take it or leave it.
right,
And Dhammarato has got enough students,
right,
right?
right. And Hey, I was just like thinking about what you said. Every teacher has their finger pointing at the moon. Might be a couple degrees off from the other one, but they're all pointing in the same direction. And I
Hmm.
feel like for the first time, or maybe I think I've said that to you even before, but I got an even deeper cut at that last night. I really, really saw how everything that he teaches actually, and that you've taught me and that he taught you, coincides with what Artem has taught and with what really any spiritual teacher has taught. And at one
Well, any
point,
spiritual teacher worth their salt.
well,
Mm,
yeah, someone that's not talking out of their ass.
mm,
But I I asked him at one point, what is the difference between allowing everything to be as it is and um or no, I said, how does allowing everything to be as it is relate to what you're saying to me right now? And what he was
mm,
saying to me, which you probably are very familiar with, is basically like approaching the practice of Dharma from the perspective of someone learning music. Which was really wild because like, oh wow, this would have been a perfect match for him and Danny. He said he calls
mhm,
you Danny because he's known you
mm,
for 3 years, and
mhm.
he talked about
Three, more like six.
he talked about you like I don't know. He said, hey, that's why Danny's so successful is people they want to talk to me, get their insight, ask me a question about something and then go on their way. No, 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 no. If you're going to be practicing the Dhamma, you need to be 100% dedicated. Okay, we're talking about like your practice, everything. This isn't just a in passing or as a hobby, or to get back to normalcy. He talked about his background in psychotherapy and how a lot of people in psychotherapy before would just kind of try to get you back to normalcy. And
Mm,
it's changed now to the point where there's counseling psychotherapy where you go above normalcy. And then there's what he's teaching, which is to be completely above the world. You could imagine that then at that point, when I heard that, I was like, whoa, 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 wait a minute. What do you mean above the world? Are you saying that the path of the Dhamma is superiority is a part of it? We were screening each other basically, which was cool.
mm,
And he's like, well, yes, I do mean actually that, but in a different sense. And I
mm,
understood what he meant. It's basically that the world's problems, like if we're coming from the perspective that we are relaxed now and that we are satisfied now, which makes the approach to practice immediately less of a struggle, more
mhm,
easy, more
mhm,
inviting. And so, he says most people in the Western world, they approach it like there's the struggle and they got to get somewhere. But what happens with that is the somewhere where you want to get is actually what's here right now. So it's in being relaxed. And what you find is that after all those struggles, you just want to be relaxed anyway. You want to struggle so that you can be relaxed. The reward is to feel a sense of accomplishment, a sense of happiness, a sense of whatever, which in that comes relief, comes relaxation. So how can we cultivate that in the here now?
mhm,
And I was like, okay, I'm really starting to get this now. This is making so much sense. So I described this analogy to him. I was like, yeah, it's like a house of cards, right? And you have this layer and this layer and this layer and this layer. But if you start in the middle of the house of cards before building that critical foundation, you are prone to, breaking through the house of cards or, it can come apart. And he was like, that's a really good analogy. And I think what happened for me when I first met Artem was I started in the center of the house of cards and I've just been trying to dig my way through either to the top, hitting the bottom, like not knowing really what the sides of the house look like, how the siding is made. Like it's very, very unknown and uncertain. And because of that, I
mhm,
struggle.
mhm,
And so what I'm seeing now is like, because I've had the benefit of allowing everything to be as it is, I can see how critical it is and important and valuable it'll be to me to lay in those first foundations. It's like it's like I did a trial. It's kind of what it is. I got the test run. I got the trial. I went to the dealership and I test drove the car, and now I want to buy. So now, in actually buying,
Hmm.
I'm in. I'm in now. Now I'm going from this layer, this, like I'm gonna, like, it just sounds like a smarter way to go about the whole thing, to be
Cool.
honest. If you I mean, if what you're really committed to is freedom and the Dharma, I feel like it would really benefit someone to practice this way, because I was telling him, I was like, so I've learned to just allow my feelings and accept my feelings. How does that relate to this? And he's like, well, here's the thing. It's a step below. That's the Mahasi method. The Buddhist method taught that it begins at thought. And it's the this is really cool, Dan. I loved that he gave this analogy. He said the um the the thoughts condition the feelings, and the feelings condition the body, and the body conditions the feelings, and the feelings condition the thoughts. I
Hmm.
believe that was the order, he said. So he said, if you look at the analogy, did you want to say something?
Well, it all conditions one another.
It all conditions one another. Exactly.
Hmm.
And he's like, if you
So the
think of a
question
car,
becomes, which can we most easily influence?
yes, yes.
The
But the,
feelings is the most difficult.
yes, exactly. And I'm seeing that now. And here's the
Mm.
thing, it's like, if you look at a car outside, after a day of a clean car being out in the weather, it gets dirty. And then we say the car's dirty. But that's actually not true. It's not the car that's dirty, it's the dirt around the car. It's the
Hmm.
dirt that is dirty that's getting on the
Hmm.
car. The dirt in this case is the condition in which the car is in. So what we are influencing and addressing is the condition, the
Hmm.
conditions themselves. So if the thoughts condition the feelings, and that all conditions the body, basically my body is the car, and the thoughts and the feelings are the conditions.
Hmm.
So what we're doing is we're addressing the conditions directly at the root, so as to um understand that, well, it's starting at the beginning of it all, at the thought rather than the feeling, because the thought is how the dirt started forming, and then it
Hmm.
goes into the feelings. And so if we can he's like, this is not about, he said, there's accepting your anger and your sadness, right? But this is about seeing before sadness ensues.
Hmm.
It's about stopping it. Oh, anger, sadness, which is makes so much sense, because it's what you've been saying to me for so many months. You're like, I see you, I see you. And he says, we have to be able to make friends with these dark parts of ourselves. Most of the times we don't want to see these dark parts of ourselves because, and I think this is the part where I've cultivated pretty great seeing, which you've told me as well, is you you end up facing your own ignorance, which in itself can be painful. But what he teaches is, he says, well, we don't even have to see it as painful. We can actually see that as, from right from the beginning, as a grand, wow, whoa, there it is. There's my friend, right there guiding me. Without
Hmm.
seeing that, without understanding the dark parts of myself, I can't. It's harder to let them go. It's harder to let them be as they are.
Hmm.
So why it's important to start in this way is because we begin to pull these dark parts of ourselves that I've been looking at for the past months, and struggling with, and accepting all kinds of degrees of success and failure with that, right? And we look at these things and we start becoming friends with them, such that they become easier to have around. They become easier to let go of. They become easier to investigate. So we're creating a less dirty condition. We're creating a
Mhm.
less threatening condition so that it's
Mhm.
easier to just do the whole thing, to investigate.
Yeah.
So I just feel like I totally understand now.
Good. Good.
Oh,
I'm glad you went ahead and made that call. A
yeah.
tremendous coming together here of
Yeah.
all of these different ideas that have been floating around,
Yeah.
and a kind of confirmation. You'll remember I've told you in the past, in the Alexander technique work, we are passed around among many different teachers. I must have had Alexander lessons from a few dozen teachers, maybe even more over the years, because it's just so tremendously valuable to get that different input from different teachers. Very useful. And certainly, Dhammarato has been in the game longer than I have, so you've got some very deeply confirmed wisdom coming from Dhammarato. You'll remember many times I'll say to you, look, I just don't have the sample size to be able to say something conclusively when we're talking about how it must be for practitioners everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we'll just hit a moment where I say, look, I just haven't had enough time to work with enough practitioners to make a generalized statement there.
Yeah.
Dhammarato has been in this game for decades.
Yeah. I see it though. It makes so much sense. There's so many pitfalls in because the other thing I saw is I was like, so how does allowing everything to be as it is relate to this? And he said, well, if I'm just going out throughout my day and I'm having unwholesome thoughts like I don't want this, I don't want that, right there, that's not allowing everything to be as it is. Even if you think you're allowing everything to be as it is, that inherently right there in the reality of that whole process is not allowing everything to be as it is. And I was like, wow, that is so true. That is so true. So
Yep.
it's like I think the feeling route is you learn to roll around in the mud so much that at some point it becomes difficult to see beyond the mud. You could
Mm-hmm.
really get stuck there, and I've gotten
And
stuck
there's
there
the
many
wallowing
times. And there's
that
the
we spoke about,
wallowing.
right?
Yeah, and then you can shake the mud off, but you still have it on you, or it comes back sometimes. Whereas this is, wait, that's mud. Wait a minute. No, no, no. I'm a lion. I can handle this. I can
Mm-hmm.
handle this. No lion. I mean, no mud is going to get on me or is going to affect me. I'm okay.
Or if it
And
does, I'll just go jump around in a puddle for a minute
right,
and
right.
clean it right off, right? So it's, yeah, it's taking that more active perspective on
Yeah.
what's going on.
Yeah, so what he suggested to me is 5 to 6 times a day for the next 3 to 4 days. Take 5 to 10 minutes where I practice just enjoying every single mind moment with the in breath and then every mind moment with the out breath,
Mm.
and noticing if there's any unwholesome thoughts, replace them with, oh, I'm okay, or oh, this feels nice right now, or oh, I enjoyed that. Like
Yeah, and look, you've
whatever
got
that
that on
is.
tap with the samatha work that you've done.
Right, exactly. So it's not
Yeah.
really, it's just more of a honing in on it, I guess you could say. And I
Mm-hmm.
told him about the subject object practice that I've been doing, and he said, "Yeah, that's great. Just continue to see everything as objects. Anything that I see in my experience is an object." And I'm starting to see that more and more and more. Um, he explained that the experience that I had last night from the subject object practice that I told you about is precisely, which actually kind of sounds like what it was, is noticing that I'm not as separate as I thought I was, and that there's
Mm-hmm.
not just me over here, there's me over there and over there and over there and over there and over there over there. So there's nothing to say, there's nothing to do because it's all doing and saying already. So and he's like, don't cling to that though. Don't cling to
Mhm.
it. And I think
Mhm.
it's interesting because when I got up from the practice, I stood up and I was like, whoa, I feel so weird
Mhm.
right now. Like like
Mhm.
the ground beneath my feet did not feel like the ground anymore. It was like
Mhm.
I felt like I wasn't held down or held up. I was just like in space, like floating through space almost. And I noticed I was like, oh, okay, well, hey, maybe this is self-realization. Well, if it is, I'll know in a minute, or I'll know in the next minute. I'll know later on. Okay, I'm just gonna let that go. And I was like, oh, well, maybe this is, this is great. This is a victory. Okay,
Or
I'll just,
maybe you'll impress us all and not put a label on it at all.
yeah. And I was like, okay, I'm not gonna, and I noticed I was like, well, what if I'm just acting? And I was like, well, if I'm acting, let's try to stop this right now. And I couldn't do that. So I knew that there was something in my direct experience that had changed, that was different.
Mm.
Um, Now I'm more or less back to normal, but normal,
Well,
but
which normal? Because I've seen lots of smiles during this call. That
yeah,
wouldn't have been normal a few days ago.
it's true.
Mm.
It's true. Um, I think what I'm
Remember, what
learning,
we're interested in is satisfaction.
satisfaction. Yeah,
Simple, ordinary satisfaction.
yeah,
And a comment regarding this above the world that we were talking about, supramundane.
yes, yeah,
A hallmark of that supramundane understanding is actually ordinariness. Now, that sounds paradoxical because we're saying supramundane, above the world. The problem is the world is what's special.
yeah,
The
yeah,
world is where all the specialness is.
yeah.
We're realizing that we're not special at all. We're completely and utterly ordinary. That's what it means to be above the world. Nothing special here. Dissatisfaction is special. It's extra, specific. My ears are connected. That's no good. Talk to me, bro.
Hey,
Oh, yeah, I can hear you. Okay. So, a tremendous victory here.
yeah, man, tremendous
Very,
victory,
very.
tremendous victory. Um, you said the reason why for all this trippiness is because I'm not balancing it enough with samatha. But as I said last night, I really was. I did do samatha before I went into the subject object practice.
Yeah,
So
okay. So then, well, it's interesting because your description to me in text sounded uh, somewhat more confusing than how you just described it now. What you just described to me now sounded like quite a balanced experience. Oh, okay, there's this trippiness going on, but it's cool. I'm right here. I can still investigate it. That didn't sound like overwhelm. And that's the kind of balance that we expect from bringing samatha along for the ride.
okay, I mean
So it's not
it was
it's not that
scary.
trippy stuff never occur when
Yeah.
we're doing in practice, right? But it's that we're able to say, oh, trippiness. Okay, rather than
Okay.
getting panicked.
Okay. It's interesting because when things like that happen, especially when there's this sense of lack of identification with self or like a lack of a process that was being done that isn't happening now, it, it's seductive the tendency is to identify with that and be like, oh wow, this right here is a victory, that I'm experiencing this right now. Would you say that that is a pitfall, a trap?
The victory to enjoy is the victory of correct practice, clear seeing. Those are the victories to enjoy. The phenomena are not victories. Phenomena come and go. And that's what Dhammarato is touching upon when he says, don't get attached.
Yeah. Like, okay. And I'm sure it's normal too to be somewhat attached when those things happen.
That's why you said it.
Okay.
That's why you said it, because he sees all those traps.
Okay.
Indeed, many practitioners have fallen into them, but one of Dhammarato's specialties is helping students to avoid those traps. Because, like I say, he's seen so many students come through this process.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's cool, man. So also, the other thing is I thought it was interesting that he said, I want you to see me often. Students that succeed in the Dhamma are ones that are dedicated and committed and see me often, talk to me often. Whereas you've told me to kind of let go of that and start being self-sufficient.
All of those interactions are based around you becoming dependent upon me. You've had no opportunity to develop a dependency on Dhammarato yet, so you're safe.
Okay. Okay. So different context.
Yeah, also, you and I are the same age. We've commented before on how we would likely have been friends in any other context.
Yeah.
Your relationship with Dhammarato will be like mine was. It's more of a kind of fatherly relationship, right? So there's less of that opportunity for another kind of bond to occur. You see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I do see what you're saying. It was really nice, honestly. I like him a lot. He's like, he really enjoyed it. He enjoyed it.
He enjoys everything. I challenge try and throw something at Dhammarato which he won't enjoy.
All right, man. Well, I gotta get on my work meeting. It starts now at 9. Thanks for making the time to talk, bro. I love you.
You're welcome. Love you too. Catch you soon.
I'll talk to you hopefully around 2 p.m. today.
Great. Cheers, bro.
All right, man. Okay.
Bye-bye. Bye.